Guys, we are so close to 30,000 subscribers. Before we dive into today's show, just a few reasons why you should subscribe to Mavericks Today. We got coverage on a year-round basis almost every single day. We're hitting you guys with videos on the latest news, rumors, and analysis. When free agency and the draft are here, we cover that hard as well. And Coop is going to be lighting you guys up with some watch parties this season as well. 37 away from 30K. We got to get there before the start of training camp.
Can we get it on this video?
That'd
I
be
think
great.
we can.
That'd be great. Harrison Graham, Jeffrey Cooperstein here. Coming up on today's show, Bleacher Report listed a trade target for every NBA team. We'll get to that Mavericks target in just a second.
You guys will be shocked.
I'll give you guys 3 seconds to guess who it is. 3, 2, 1. Ah, yes. Dorian Finney-Smith. And, Coop, we were talking about this pre-show. I do feel like he'll play for the Mavs again at some point.
I actually think so as well.
Whether it's via trade or his contract runs out or he gets bought out or something on the last year of his deal. I think he's got 2 years left.
He does.
But I do question what he is as a player at this point. I think part of his inefficiency in Brooklyn is just Brooklyn stinks.
Bad team.
But he hasn't looked the same since he left Dallas, just as a player. So that does concern me a little bit.
Yeah, I think he feels that Dallas is his home and the organization that he grew up in and developed in as a player and frankly, like, became a man. And the Mavs have helped him all throughout his life. You know, they helped him off the court with the situation with his dad being in prison and whatnot. So he definitely still feels a connection to Dallas. And yes, while the Mavs had to trade him to go get Kyrie Irving, and it was a great trade for the Mavs in retrospect, Finney-Smith was probably pretty, disappointed and dejected about that he had to go away from the only organization that he ever knew. And I do think at some point he's going to end up back in Dallas. I still think he's a good player and he could help the Mavs, but I don't think he is the player that he was that earned him this contract he's currently on.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put it this way. He was playing 35 minutes per game in that Western Conference Finals run. That is not who he is anymore. Like, I think he's a bench 3-and-D guy on a good team, which still has plenty of value. You can't have enough of those guys. I think if you brought him in here, he would be an upgrade over some of your bench wing options for sure. But, I would not give up a first-round pick for him. And, B, he just hasn't shot the ball nearly as well since he left. And that could just be the Luka effect, right? Yeah. You go from playing with Luka, getting the looks you do, playing with him, to Brooklyn, who doesn't even really have a point guard. So.
Yeah, he got a lot more open shots when he was in Dallas. And I do think, like, if he was the bench wing that was, playing 15 to 20 minutes a night here in Dallas.
Be a good role.
I think it'd be a very good role for him, and he's pretty affordable. We'll get to his contract here in just a sec, but I want to get the pulse of what you guys are thinking. Do you think the Mavs need to make a trade before the season begins? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Do you think this roster is set, or could they still use an upgrade? Let us know what you guys think down in the comments below.
Yeah, and just to answer that from our standpoint, I don't think they need to. I think you roll into the season with what you got. We'll continue to talk about Dodo here, but this feels like maybe it's more of a trade deadline, maybe buy low on a veteran guy to add to your team. You look at the rest of his contract, it's basically 2 for $30, just under 15 this year, just under 15.5 next year player option. Probably would opt in, I would guess, at this point in his career with how he's played the last year and a half.
I was just thinking that as well. He probably will opt in, right?
I think so, unless he has a great year.
Yeah.
I mean, he's, 31 now, 32? I mean, is he getting $15 million on the open market? Now, if 3 for $30 is on the table, maybe you would opt out to just take the volume deal because maybe you wouldn't get that the following year after the player option. But, I don't think – I think moving forward, he's probably a mid-level guy at most in terms of contracts.
I would agree, and the Mavs can easily make the money work if they really did want to do a trade for Dorian Finney-Smith. There's a couple of different avenues they could go, and we'll discuss that here in just a sec. As far as giving up a first-round pick go, probably not going to do that, but I do think they would have to give up some sort of draft comp to go get him, and we'll discuss what that looks like here shortly.
Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Football is back. Basketball is just around the corner. Baseball is ongoing. And there's a lot of opportunities to play daily fantasy sports with Prize Picks. The way it works is simple. You set lineups with at least 2 players, up to 6 players, and choose more or less on the stat projections. If it's a football pick, passing yards, touchdowns, rushing yards, etc., Choose more or less based on the projections. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. They've got a deal in the month of September for Caleb Williams passing yards in each of these games, so you already get one box check there. We'll take the more on Jalen Hurts passing yards here on Monday Night Football. And then Drake London, see if he could bounce back this week. Take the more on him receiving yards as well. 10 to win 50 on that one. And the deal PrizePicks has running right now that we are offering you is if you sign up at PrizePicks.com/CLNS, use the code CLNS, play for just $5. $5, doesn't matter if you hit the entry or miss. You're going to get a $50 bonus in your account. Awesome opportunity, extra money to play with. Get started with PrizePicks today. That link is in the comments and in the description of this video. Choose more, choose less. It's PrizePicks. All right, Dorian Finney-Smith. Let's talk about what a trade would look like here, Coop. I'm pretty adamant about not trading a first. Now, maybe if you got multiple seconds back or a second player in the deal, maybe I could be swayed depending on what that looked like. But in a vacuum, I don't think at this stage in his career and where the Mavericks are roster construction-wise, trading a first-round pick makes a lot of sense.
Fully agree. And this is kind of the framework of a deal that I sort of cooked up that what I think would be acceptable for both teams. The Mavs would get Dorian Finney-Smith in exchange for Maxi Kleber, Quentin Grimes, and a second-round pick. Now, you have to ask yourself, are you trading Quentin Grimes and a second-round pick for Dorian Finney-Smith? I think the answer on Kleber is an easy yes. On Grimes and that additional draft compensation, though, I'm not sure that I would. I think I would have to, look at that a little further and kind of evaluate whether I think Grimes is going to have a bigger future here or whether or not they need the immediate help in Finney-Smith.
Honestly, I'd rather do Hardy instead of Grimes.
But the money doesn't work with Hardy, though, because
okay,
Grimes makes a little more, so you have to match the money up, and Grimes is the only contract that works.
Yeah, I don't think I'm pulling the trigger on that deal. I mean, it's easy to pick on Maxi Kleber, and we're certainly guilty of that, but he does have a role. It's not like he's a DNP guy, and Quentin Grimes is going to have a role. Now, out of those three players, in theory, could Dorian Finney-Smith be the most impactful? Probably, but I don't know that to be the case 100%. And with Grimes young and in theory ascending, I don't know if I'm making that move, man. I just, if they could work it with Kleber and another piece, if you can find another player that works financially, but I don't think it does. They're not going to take Dwight Powell. I think you just stand pat. I like Dodo, but if I have to trade two rotation players for one who's not even going to start, that's kind of a tough sell, if you ask me.
I'm with you there. I'm completely on the fence. I obviously love Dorian Finney-Smith. I think he's a great guy, and he loves the organization, and the organization loves him, and he would be a good fit. But are you giving up that extra draft pick and a young, maybe ascending player in Quentin Grimes? I'm not sure. I'm kind of on the fence with you as well. But let us know what y'all think. Would you accept this trade, type A for accept, type D for decline? I bet we're going to be split pretty damn near 50-50 down in the comment section. So let us know what you guys think down below.
Yeah, I would decline. Maybe, depending on how things go early in the season, it'd be something to revisit the trade deadline. But right now, I want to see Quentin Grimes play here. I want to see how he does. So
I want to see it as well. And I think the Mavs, probably are going to work out an extension with Quentin Grimes before the season starts as well.
And by the way, if they do that, trading for a Dodo becomes a little easier because his contract would be probably in the ballpark. It probably won't be 15, but let's say it's 10 or 11 or 9. Well, you could pair that with, I don't know, I don't have the salary cap structure in front of me, but it becomes easier to match trades with the contract like that. So, I think that's another reason to do that extension. We'll see if the Mavericks do. I think they will.
No, I was going to say, one thing I wanted to hit before we go, we saw this ridiculous article in CBS Sports that ranked Jason Kidd the 18th best coach in the NBA. I'm about to put a community post up on our channel, so go to our community tab and go vote whether you think Kidd is better or worse than 18th. That's an absolute joke, right? I mean, I'm not saying he's the 5th best coach in the league, but 18th?
Yeah, look, I think he has his flaws. He struggles with rotation sometimes.
He does.
His situational coaching is hit and miss. But the guy's made the conference finals in 2 out of 3 years and made an NBA finals last year.
By default, you can't be 18.
Yeah, you can't be bottom. I mean, think how many teams fire coaches every 2 years. Yeah. That already gets you to 20.
Exactly.
So he's the 3rd worst coach. among the teams who aren't cycling in and out every year. I just look. I think he's closer to 10 than 20. Now, can I sit here and off the top of my head say he's for sure a top 10 guy? No, but I think he might be. I mean, I wouldn't argue against it. I would not put him in the top 5. I think we have to see more, but 18's kind of embarrassing. It's like there's just no logic for it.
It makes no sense. The media once again disrespecting the Mavs, but what's new?
The mainstream media strikes again. Jeffrey Cooperstein, Harrison Graham, a little laughter there at the end. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode, so join us then.
Peace out.